From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, November the 28th, 2023. A fifth group of Israeli hostages was released from Gaza tonight, following an extension of the temporary truce with terror group Hamas. The group is said to be 10 Israeli hostages, 9 women and 1 child, and 2 foreign nationals. They are among the approximate 240 people who were abducted on October the 7th by Hamas during its brutal massacre 53 days ago. The 4-day temporary truce that was reached between Israel and Hamas on Friday was said to be extended for 2 more days, today and tomorrow, allowing for 10 more hostages to be released on each day, in exchange for Israel's release of a reported 30 more Palestinian security prisoners each day. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke over the phone with the director of the Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency, David Barnea. He said ahead of the hostage release, Barnea reportedly, along with the head of the CIA, was meeting with Qatar's Prime Minister in Doha regarding the truce extension and release of hostages. The Prime Minister today reiterated the IDF's commitments, he said, of freeing all of the hostages, eliminating this terrorist organization above and below ground, and of course that Gaza must not return to being what it was, that it will no longer constitute a threat to the State of Israel. Last night, U.S. President Joe Biden spoke of the truce extension. He said, "I have remained deeply engaged over the last few days to ensure that this deal, brokered and sustained through extensive U.S. mediation and diplomacy, can continue to deliver results," noting the 50 hostages released over the first 4 days of the agreement and hoping for more. Biden thanking Netanyahu as well as the leaders of Qatar and Egypt for their commitment, he said, to this process and in reaching the agreement for an extension over the next 48 hours. "We will not stop," Biden said, "until all of the hostages held by Hamas terrorists are released." The IDF said today that Hamas violated the truce agreement, saying that 3 explosive devices were detonated today adjacent to IDF troops in 2 different locations in northern Gaza, violating the framework of the operational pause. In one of the locations, the IDF said terrorists also opened fire at the troops, who responded with fire. A number of soldiers were lightly injured during the incidents. And the IDF today also announced the deaths of 3 soldiers who were abducted by Hamas on October the 7th and murdered that day. They are 20-year-old Staff Sergeant Tomer Yaakov Achimas, 19-year-old Sergeant Kirill Brodsky, and 19-year-old Sergeant Shaked Dahan. The Times of Israel said the Army's chief rabbi declared their deaths based on various findings obtained by the IDF. A hostage who was freed during the hostage release Sunday night in critical condition is improving. 84-year-old Elma Avraham, while still in intensive care, is off of a ventilator and said to no longer be in life-threatening condition. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will return to Israel this week, his 3rd trip to the region since the Hamas massacre. The State Department said yesterday that in Israel and the West Bank, Secretary Blinken will discuss Israel's right to defend itself consistent with international humanitarian law, as well as continued efforts to secure the release of remaining hostages, protect civilian life during Israel's operations in Gaza, and accelerate humanitarian assistance to civilians in Gaza. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, November the 28th. At 7 o'clock, Rabbi Ammiel Hirsch talks of the visceral rage on American college campuses and in the streets and the devastating hostage crisis in Israel. At 7:30, hear from the father of active IDF soldier Yonatan and Danielle, who is missing in action, Rabbi Doron Perez, who speaks about what gives him and his family hope and light in this darkness and how we can help bring Danielle home. That's with Dr. Erica Brown. At 8:15, we hear from the families of the hostages from New York City's Central Synagogue. At 9, it's Leah Goldin on L'chaim. At 10, a look at the ethics of the IDF. And coming up next, the ILTV's Insider. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, November the 28th, 2023. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.